At night, the Las Vegas Strip doesn't look like a street. It looks like a pulse, a 4-mile stretch of light built entirely on one idea, that some performers are worth flying across the world to see just once. This is the city where Elvis Presley reinvented what a live show could be, where Celine Dion turned a residency into a second career, where the biggest names in music have staked their legacy on a single stage, night after night, for months or years at a time. And in the fall of 2026, that stage belongs, for the first time ever, to a K-pop star. So how does a trainee from a small town in Thailand end up with her name in lights on the same strip that built its legend on Elvis and Sinatra? That's the story we're telling today. This is the story of how Lisa, rapper, dancer, and 1/4 of the biggest girl group on the planet, became, by every account, the first K-pop artist to headline a Las Vegas residency. And what her arrival on that stage says about how far this genre has actually traveled. To understand why this moment matters, you have to understand what a Las Vegas residency actually represents in Western entertainment, because it's unlike almost anything else in the music industry. A residency isn't a tour stop. It's not one night in a city before moving on to the next. It's a commitment, both from the artist and from the city itself, that says, this performer is significant enough to build a stage around, permanently, and audiences will keep coming to them, instead of the other way around. The lineage here is almost sacred. Elvis Presley's Vegas residency in the late 1960s and 70s didn't just revive his career, it created the template for what a Vegas show even means. Decades later, Celine Dion's residency reintroduced the concept for a new generation, reportedly grossing hundreds of millions of dollars and running for years, proving a residency could be more lucrative and more career-defining than any traditional tour. Britney Spears brought a distinctly pop sensibility to the format, drawing younger audiences into showrooms that had long skewed older. And more recently, Adele's residency became one of the most sought-after tickets in the world, reportedly reshaping an entire theater specifically to make an arena-sized voice feel intimate. What ties all of these names together isn't genre, it's stature. Vegas residencies have historically gone to artists considered untouchable, performers whose career had already reached a point where a single stage could define an era. That's the club Lisa is reportedly stepping into. And the venue matters too. The Colosseum at Caesar's Palace, the very room Celine Dion and Adele called home, is where Lisa's residency, Viva La Lisa, is set to take place across 2 weekends in November 2026. And the format hasn't stood still either. In recent years, the concept of a residency has expanded well beyond a traditional showroom. U2's technologically ambitious run at the Sphere reportedly redefined what a residency's production scale could even look like, blending massive visual innovation with live performance in a way earlier generations of Vegas headliners never had access to. That evolution matters here because it means Lisa isn't just inheriting an old tradition unchanged. She's arriving at a moment when Vegas itself has been actively reinventing what a residency can be, which makes the timing of a K-pop artist's arrival, an artist whose entire career has been built around visually maximalist, technically precise stage production, feel less like a coincidence and more like the format finally catching up to a style of performance she'd already mastered elsewhere. Before any of that, there was a childhood in Buriram, a province in northeastern Thailand, where Lalisa Manoban, the name behind the stage persona Lisa, grew up dancing before she ever imagined a stage like the Colosseum existed for her. As a child, she began performing locally, eventually moving to Bangkok to train more seriously in dance. That training caught the attention of YG Entertainment, one of South Korea's most prominent talent agencies, which recruited her to Seoul as a young teenager, a decision that meant leaving her home country behind for a notoriously demanding trainee system. By most accounts, K-pop trainee life is unforgiving. Years of daily vocal, dance, and language training, with no guarantee of ever debuting at all. Lisa reportedly trained for roughly 4 years before her breakthrough came, not as a solo act, but as part of a 4-member group that would go on to become one of the most successful girl groups in music history, Blackpink. From their 2016 debut, Blackpink became a global phenomenon, stadium tours, record-breaking music videos, and a fan base known as Blinks that spans continents. But it was Lisa's solo ventures that began carving out a separate, individual legacy. Her solo debut single reportedly became one of the fastest K-pop solo releases in history to top international charts, and her momentum only grew from there. Brand partnerships with major global fashion houses, a debut solo studio album, Alter Ego, which landed in the top 10 of the Billboard 200 and hit #1 on the Billboard Top Album Sales chart, and an ever-expanding list of A-list collaborators on that record, from Rosalia to Doja Cat to Megan Thee Stallion. By the time Vegas came calling, Lisa wasn't an idol trying to prove she could go solo. She was a solo star with the receipts to prove it already had. The months leading up to the residency announcement only reinforced that. She made her solo Coachella debut to reportedly enthusiastic reviews, appeared at major awards ceremonies including the Golden Globes, and continued building her acting resume beyond The White Lotus with an upcoming role in a Netflix action thriller. Alongside all of that, she returned to the stage with her Blackpink bandmates for the group's Deadline World Tour, a 6-month run of stadium shows across North America, Asia, and Europe, before the group wrapped the trek in Hong Kong at the start of 2026. In other words, the Vegas announcement didn't land during a quiet stretch of her career. It landed at the exact moment she was simultaneously active as a group member, a solo artist, and an actor. 3 separate resumes, all converging at once. None of this happened in isolation. Lisa's residency sits at the end of a much longer runway, one that K-pop as a genre has been building for well over a decade. 10 years ago, K-pop acts breaking into the American mainstream was treated as a novelty. Today, it's a fixture. Groups have sold out stadiums across the United States and Europe, topped the Billboard Hot 100, performed at the world's biggest award shows, and turned once niche fandoms into some of the most organized, most powerful fan communities in modern music. What's changed isn't just popularity, it's institutional acceptance. K-pop artists have gone from performing as guests on Western stages to being handed ownership of entire moments, headlining slots, major brand campaigns, film and television roles. Lisa herself is part of that shift, having made her acting debut in HBO's The White Lotus, a show that earned Emmy nominations during the very season she appeared in it. Other artists from the same industry have been chipping away at similar walls in parallel, chart-topping runs on the Billboard Hot 100, sold-out stadium residencies of their own, invitations to perform at some of music's most exclusive award ceremonies. Vegas, by comparison, had remained one of the last major institutions in Western entertainment that K-pop, as a genre, simply hadn't been invited into yet. Not because of a lack of commercial firepower, but because residencies have always operated on a different kind of currency than chart performance, longevity, mainstream household recognition, and the sense that an artist has become bigger than any single song or era. A Vegas residency, then, isn't really a genre crossing over. It's a genre finishing the crossover it's been making for years, and simply arriving, at last, at one of the last remaining institutions it hadn't yet touched. When the announcement came, in the spring of 2026, it didn't arrive with a press conference or a slow rollout. It arrived the way most modern pop culture moments do, through a single social media post aimed directly at her fans. The message was simple. Vegas, are you ready? 2 weekends in November. The Colosseum at Caesar's Palace. And with that, Lisa reportedly became the first K-pop artist ever confirmed for a Las Vegas residency, a distinction multiple major outlets moved quickly to confirm and report on within hours. The reaction split into overlapping waves. Fans treated it as validation of years of support, flooding timelines with excitement the moment tickets went live. Industry commentators framed it as a watershed moment for the genre, proof that K-pop's commercial power had finally reached the specific rooms of the entertainment industry that had, until now, remained almost entirely closed to it. And casual observers, many encountering Lisa's name for the first time through the headlines, seemed genuinely surprised to learn just how large her existing fanbase already was. Ticket demand, by most reports, was immediate and intense, the kind of pre-sale rush usually reserved for artists with decades, not years, of Western chart history behind them. Resale platforms reportedly saw listings climb within hours of general sale opening, a signal that demand had already outpaced the initial ticket allocation for at least some performance dates. For an industry that has spent years debating how far K-pop's Western commercial ceiling actually extends, that kind of immediate demand offered a fairly direct answer. Every artist who's ever conquered a Vegas stage has brought something specific to the room. Elvis brought raw charisma and vocal power. Celine Dion brought technical, operatic precision. Britney Spears brought pop spectacle built around choreography. Adele brought intimacy, a voice so powerful it didn't need spectacle at all. Lisa's case is unusual because she doesn't fit neatly into any single one of those categories. She's a rapper, a dancer trained in a system built around split-second precision, and a vocalist, a multidisciplinary performer in a way that few Vegas headliners before her have been asked to be all at once. There's also the matter of what she represents culturally. K-pop's global appeal has always rested on a very specific fusion, the discipline and visual precision of Korean pop production, combined with an increasingly Western pop sensibility in songwriting and collaboration. Lisa's own solo catalog, built with American songwriters, American features, and American producers, reflects that fusion directly. A Vegas audience isn't just getting a K-pop show transplanted onto American soil. By most accounts, they're getting something closer to a hybrid Western-style spectacle staged with K-pop-level choreographic precision, delivered by an artist who's spent years fluent in both worlds simultaneously. That combination, without disparaging a single artist who stood on that stage before her, hasn't quite existed in the Colosseum's history until now. There's a technical dimension worth naming, too. K-pop's training system, whatever criticism it draws for its intensity, produces performers held to a specific standard of synchronized precision that Western pop production has, at times, actively borrowed from in recent years. Lisa built her entire foundation inside that system before ever stepping onto a Western stage. For a room like the Colosseum, built for close, unforgiving sightlines where every movement is visible, that background isn't incidental. It's arguably one of the exact skill sets that format rewards most. So what might audiences actually expect when the curtain rises in November? To be clear, exact production details haven't been fully revealed, but based on Lisa's existing live performance history, fans and industry watchers have started to speculate. If early patterns from her Coachella set and Blackpink's world tour are any indication, audiences might expect a show built around exactly the kind of maximalist visual precision she's known for, tightly synchronized. Choreography, high-fashion styling changes between numbers, and a setlist likely to draw from her solo catalog, including tracks like Rockstar and Money, alongside possible surprises pulled from her time with Blackpink. Some fans have speculated the show could lean into cinematic staging inspired by her acting work, given her recent crossover into television and film. Others have pointed to the intimate scale of the Colosseum itself, a room built for close-up spectacle rather than stadium distance, as an opportunity for her to do something she's rarely had the chance to do at Blackpink's massive stadium shows: connect with an audience at much closer range. None of this is confirmed. But if the reported ticket demand is any signal, audiences aren't just curious about what songs will be performed. They're curious whether a K-pop artist, on this specific stage, changes what a Vegas show can even look like going forward. Some observers have also speculated about whether the production might weave in visual nods to her Thai heritage, given how consistently she's incorporated Bangkok imagery and cultural references into her solo music videos and stage design in the past. If that pattern holds, a Vegas audience unfamiliar with that side of her artistry might get an introduction to it for the first time, presented not as a footnote but as part of the show's actual visual identity. Zoom out far enough, and this story stops being about one artist's career milestone. It becomes a data point in a much bigger question. How far can K-pop's influence actually extend into the institutions of Western entertainment that have, historically, been the hardest to break into? A stadium tour proves an artist can sell tickets. A chart placement proves an artist can compete commercially. But a Vegas residency proves something different: that an entertainment ecosystem built over nearly a century around a very specific, very Western idea of stardom sees enough long-term value in this specific performer to build a stage around her, indefinitely. If Lisa's residency performs the way early ticket demand suggests it might, it's reasonable to expect this won't be treated as a one-off exception. It's more likely to be treated as a proof of concept, evidence for an entire industry that other K-pop artists, and potentially artists from entertainment traditions far beyond K-pop, belong in rooms they've never previously been considered for. That's not a competitive statement against anyone who stood on that stage before her. It's an expansion of who gets to stand there next. It's worth remembering, too, that Lisa isn't the only member of her own group charting new territory right now. Her Blackpink bandmates have each pursued solo paths of their own in parallel. But a Vegas residency specifically carries a different institutional weight than a solo tour or a chart placement, precisely because it requires an entire external industry, venue operators, casino resorts, entertainment executives, built around decades of a very specific Western model of stardom, to make a long-term bet on an artist. That bet, once made successfully, tends to open the door slightly wider for whoever comes next. None of this happens without Blinks, the global fanbase that has followed Lisa from her earliest days as a trainee, through Blackpink's rise, and into every solo chapter since. It's easy, from the outside, to reduce a fanbase to ticket sales and streaming numbers. But the reality behind a moment like this is years of translated lyrics shared for free online, fan-run accounts tracking every award and every milestone, and communities spanning dozens of countries and languages, all rallying around the same artist for the better part of a decade. When pre-sale registration opened for Viva La Lisa, the response reportedly overwhelmed early demand within a short window, a reminder that this residency isn't just a bet Caesar's Palace made on an artist. It's the direct result of a fan base that has spent years proving, again and again, that their support was never temporary. That kind of loyalty doesn't build overnight, and it rarely gets the credit it deserves in stories focused on charts and ticket sales. Long before international media outlets were covering her every move, Blinks were already streaming her music at midnight releases, defending her in online debates, and turning up in matching lightstick colors at whatever venue would have her. This residency is, in a very real sense, a return on that investment. Whatever happens on that Colosseum stage in November, it will be standing on a foundation those fans built first. Every legendary Vegas residency eventually becomes a piece of the city's permanent identity, a name added to a list that already includes Elvis, Sinatra, Celine, Britney, Adele. In November 2026, that list adds a name it has never included before, a K-pop artist headlining under her own name, on her own terms. Whatever this residency ultimately looks like once the lights come up, its significance is already written into the announcement itself. A trainee from Buriram, Thailand, spent over a decade building toward stages most artists never get access to at all, and landed, finally, on one of the most storied stages in the world. If you want to see how Viva La Lisa actually unfolds once the residency begins, the setlist, the surprises, the reviews from the very first night, that's exactly the kind of story we'll be covering here. Subscribe if you don't want to miss it, and let us know in the comments, what are you most hoping to see when Lisa takes that stage? Either way, Vegas just added a new name to its history. And this is only the opening night of that story.